Nigeria's electoral body, INEC, has officially recognized the David Mark-led leadership of the African Democratic Congress, ADC. It follows a period of internal restructuring within the party, which culminated in the emergence of new national offices aimed at repositioning the party ahead of future electoral contest. Other principal officers now officially acknowledged by INEC include Rauf Aregbesola as National Secretary and Ibrahim Mani as National Treasurer. This paves the way for the ADC leadership to begin a nationwide reconciliation and mobilization effort. However, another faction led by self-declared National Chairman Nafiu Bala has rejected INEC's recognition, citing alleged court order restraining Mark and other politicians from parading themselves as leaders of the ADC. But the Mark-led EXCO denies any court judgment in existence, clarifying that it's all fake news. I'm now joined by the spokesman of the African Democratic Congress, Bolaji Abdullahi. Bolaji, glad to have you join me on Rise Prime Time.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
So first off, Bolaji, let's clear the air on this news making the round that the court has stopped both David Mark, and Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola from acting as both chairman and national secretary respectively. Let's clear the air on that.
There's no such thing. And thank you very much. There's no such thing. And when we got a copy of the court ruling, we looked at it and we found that the people who put out the information that such order had been given were deliberately misleading the public, because what the court indeed said was that they rejected actually the prayer of the applicant for such restraining order, and directed that the defendants should be notified. In this case, the party leadership should be notified, and that in subsequent appearance to show cause why the order should not be granted. So that's why we said it's fake news, because there is no such order granted by the court. It would have been wrong for the court to grant that kind of order.
Why? I'm aware that I think they fixed September 15th.
September 15th, yeah.
Good, but why? Like you said, why?
Yeah, because look, it's a settled matter. The Supreme Court has ruled repeatedly that the issue of leadership of a political party is entirely internal affairs of political parties, right? So, and in this case, that is what applies, because when the neck of the meeting, the 99th neck of the party, met in the presence of INEC, and that's why INEC proceeded to do the acknowledgement that they did, unanimously, the decision was taken to bring in this new leadership, unanimously. So you find a situation where a few individuals who, by whatever reason, are not agreeing with what has happened, are now trying to run to the court to give them what they could not get through politics, right? And for us, it's a settled matter. And that is why when you put it like, oh, David Mark led ADC here, then we don't feel comfortable, because that's not what is going on.
So the question of another chairman in the presence of Nafiu Bala does not arise?
Absolutely, it does not exist. Because look, if you remember, when he first made these claims, when he first came out to make these claims, we published his resignation letter, because part of the process of coming into the coalition was the agreement that the existing leadership at the time will resign, collapse, and allowed for the new leadership to come in, including making the necessary constitutional amendments and all that. So as part of that process, he resigned, I think on 12th of May. So when we published the letter showing that he had resigned, what did he do? He came out to say, oh, he didn't actually resign because his signature was forged. And we say, if your signature was forged, why didn't you report to the police, right? In any case, even if he is now claiming that he was not aware of his resignation, the very action of the NEC meeting meant that executive stand was dissolved by the action of the NEC. That's why I said, so you can't, you know.
You don't stand something on nothing.
On nothing, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Let's talk about the just concluded elections. It was, by all intents and purposes, a no-show for ADC. nowhere to be found. I think they said a wall as APC bulldoze its way. Sign of things to come, 2027?
Absolutely not. I mean, there are two ways to look at it. We are not even going to talk about all the underhand dealings, all the things that the APC did that affected all the other political parties. But focusing on the issue you raised about whether it's an indication of where ADC stands, we say no, because when the by-elections happened, we were just barely a month in ADC, and we didn't even know any of the candidates. We didn't field them. We just came into the coalition just came into the ADC. So it wouldn't be a measure or an indication of where we stand as a political party. There will be subsequent election, of course, terminating in 2027. So now we will begin to now work more deliberately towards those coming elections. But the by-election definitely cannot be used as a measure of where we stand as a political party.
Okay, now talking about, let's just talk about that before I come back to the matter. Because what you talked about, have you commenced your nationwide reconciliation and mobilization effort? That's how you put it, to strengthen the party's presence.
Registration, membership registration and revalidation.
Okay.
That's what we need to do. I mean, of course, where there are issues to be dealt with, where there are grievances or things for those who want to be part of the party, those measures will be taken. But what the decision, what happened yesterday, the significance of what happened yesterday that INEC did is that we can now move forward more deliberately with our membership registration, because we could not do that because the membership cards that will need to be issued to our members will have to carry the signature of the new leadership. So we're keeping that on hold, but now that we've crossed that hurdle, now we can proceed to deliberately begin to organize our parties and build our structures, and you begin to see things moving more.
So can you categorically say that your chairman, David Mark, has registered, and then there's the question of Atiku? Last I checked, he hadn't. Has he now?
Well, if he had registered, he would be registering in Adamawa, in his ward in Adamawa, so I don't have that information. But I can tell you that the chairman of the party, David Mark, has registered.
He's registered?
Of course he's registered.
Okay. Can you explain why El Rufai, who is supposed to be an ADC member, was sponsoring a candidate of SDP in Kaduna State?
Yeah, thank you very much. It's not just Malam Nasiru El-Rufai. His Excellency Peter Obi was also in the same circumstance. Yeah. Even before the coalition was announced, before the coalition announced its decision to move into ADC, the waiver was granted to those two leaders of the party, because before we moved into the ADC, they already had candidates obtaining forms to run on the platform of those parties. So, and they asked for a waiver to allow them to complete that process before they join up with the coalition, and it was granted. So they are not doing anything wrong. No, they are not doing anything wrong.
So it's okay?
Oh, yeah, it's absolutely.
What are the chances of ADC unseating the incumbent Tinubu and his party APC in 2027? Now, a party stalwart said the incumbency alone, the incumbency alone, that's the incumbency factor, alone will give Tinubu 40%. That opposition needs to work together to be able to unseat Tinubu. So how uphill is it for ADC to defeat Tinubu and the APC come 2027?
It's not ADC that will defeat Tinubu in 2027. Okay. It's the Nigerian people. It's the Nigerian people that have had to endure the misgovernance of APC in the last 2 years that will say enough is enough. Because we are confident that what this administration has done to Nigerians is sufficient for Nigerians to say no more. So far, no more. So it's the Nigerians that will defeat Tinubu in 2027, not even just the APC. And that's why we say the coalition is much bigger than the ADC. Right? There are so many people who are part of the coalition that are not even in ADC at this time. So you will see a lot of reconfiguration, a lot of maneuvering happening in the months ahead. There are many people who understand what is going on, and you'll see a lot of realignments as we move closer to 2027. So we are confident that by the time we get there, they have this cynical interpretation of what we're doing. Oh, it's my association of
all disgruntled candidates. What they say is that you have a collection of people with no ideology, that the only thing they're focused on is defeating Tinubu, selfish interest. They can't deliver Nigerians because they didn't get anything in the government of APC.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I mean, but we wouldn't even start by asking her what's the ideology of the APC, you know. But the point we I'm going to make is that, you see, come 2027, Nigerians are not going to ask them to tell them the full meaning of ADC. That's not the basis. Nigerians will look at the scorecard.
Yeah.
They won't get to, I've said it before, they won't get to mark their own script. Nigerians will mark their script. Nigerians will ask themselves, have you made our lives better than you met us in 2027? And the unequivocal answer will be no. So they don't get to be opposition and ruling party at the same time, because when you listen to them, they still talk about as if they are opposition party. They still making promises. We will, as if they don't have the responsibility
on the
ground to do something. So we are confident about what we are doing. We have clarity about what we plan to do, and we know we don't underestimate the enormity of the task that we have ahead. Like you said, incumbency alone, but we've seen incumbents defeated in this country.
Yeah, it happened in 2015.
Yeah, it's happened in 2015, and it can happen again. And the situation in 2015 was not even half as bad as what is going on now. If you go back down just few years down, you see President Bolaji himself, the kind of rhetoric that he was hurling against President Jonathan. Oh, resign if you can't stop insecurity. Resign if you can't guarantee. We were not asking President Tinubu to resign. We are not asking him to resign. We were saying, please govern Nigeria. Please improve the lives of Nigerians. If you can't do that, then Nigerians should have alternative. And that's what ADC represents.
A group, the SMP Forum, it's a South-North Progressive Forum, are canvassing that the presidency should remain in the South for another 4 years, as the North have held sway for 24 years, South 18 years, to correct the imbalance for fairness and unity. Is your party going to field a Southern candidate for the presidency? PDP has. They're saying...
No, we are not having that conversation now because it's not strategic for us. In terms of priority, that's not what we are talking
What's
about.
Your priority?
Our priority is to build the structure of our party. Don't forget, ADC had been a party in the Nigerian political firmament for.
You don't have all
years.
the time. This is
just. But no, we don't have all the time. But you can't, like you said earlier, in regard, you can't build something and nothing.
Yep.
So we need to, even within the short time that we have, to build the structures of our party. And we cannot be doing that and be having this conversation. When we need to, we are still within time. So when the time comes, we are going to have that conversation on what direction to go. And what we will do will be in the interest of our party because we want to win election. And it will be in the interest of Nigeria. And so, but at this time, ADC is not having that conversation.
Are you having the conversation on Peter Obi's proposal? I think I know Tanko Yunusa has talked about it for a one-term presidency. Are you having that conversation?
Not at all. We are not having any such conversation about presidency, about presidential slot or zoning or no zoning. No, not at any level of the party.
It's reported that Obi and former President Jonathan are being wooed by the PDP. And I think you said something. You said it would be risky for Obi to return. Yes, I think you did say that.
Yeah, I mean, because look, yeah, I said that. I mean, I think it was here that I said it because PDP today is still faced with the existential challenge that they've confronted in the last 2 years or so. I mean, the jugular of PDP is still in the hands of.
Yeah, you said that. I was going to come to that. What do you mean by that?
I mean, hope you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know. I don't know
because look, about a few weeks ago, PDP said they were going to have their national convention.
Come 15th and 16th
of next month. Now, what happened? Minister Wike said, "Well, you can have the convention, provided you are able to meet these conditionalities, right?" So those conditionalities they will still need to meet his terms if they want to have a convention. That's PDP.
But they're saying they're spitting fire. They're saying they can't tolerate anybody trying to stop the party.
That is good. That is good. But what does that indicate to you? That there is still a problem. There is still a danger. And I know that anybody, I mean, Peter Obi knows this problem. And we've talked to him, he's not. So nobody will take that risk. I'm not saying that it's impossible for them to resolve their crisis. We want them to resolve their crisis. We want to have a multi-party democracy, right? But we are saying that as of today, the opposition party, the main opposition party in this country is the ADC. and we'll be happy to welcome the PDP into the coalition. You know, so it's a coalition of Nigerians. It's a movement.
By the way, talking about this coalition, Bala Mohammed, the governor of Bauchi State, and of course Governors Forum of PDP, he says a coalition is an aberration, and you cannot be in PDP and be in a coalition. So he describes your coalition as an aberration.
I don't know what conceptual framework
yeah.
he was using when he described a coalition as an aberration. Because coalition, by its very definition, means a group of separate, disparate groups or entity coming together to work together for a common goal. So when he describes as an aberration, I'm remiss to understand what he's talking about.
Okay, you posit that the ruling party is using state apparatus to harangue your members, the case of Tambuwal and El-Rufai. But the question is, if they run foul of the law, should they not be interrogated?
By all means. By all means. So, if they run foul of the law, they should be subject to the rulings of the law. But what you find is the manner in which these cases are handled, you have the feeling that getting prosecution is not the end objective. It's putting these people in the public, trying them in the public, lynching them in the media,
social media
and bringing down their reputation and in the eye of the public. You have a feeling this appears to be the end goal. So what we're saying is no. If anybody has committed an offense, you as an institution have a duty to make them face the consequences of their action. That's not what ADC is against. But when you are not doing that, what you do is issue a statement as if you are some kind of public relations agency, and you put it out there to say, see, we are trying this person for these billions. Then before you know it, that becomes the end goal itself, you know, and then if in the end, regardless of what you do...
How would you rather they do it?
Let them take them to court. Instead of putting it out there in the media. You see, there are two major anti-corruption institutions in this country. The ICPC and the EFCC. If you look at the record, I don't have the numbers. If you look at the record, ICPC appear to have more conviction than the EFCC. Do you know why? ICPC doesn't go about trying people in the media.
You hardly hear them.
You hardly hear them. But when ICPC is on your case, you are done. Because they will have done all their investigations.
Their homework.
Their homework. They don't go about trying people in the media. And that's why I said this media trial must stop, because it's political persecution.
You accuse APC of violating electoral rules. APC disagrees. IGP talks tough, says it will enforce the laws. INEC says its hands are tied. The law is silent on elections 150 days before the time. Only 500,000 fine if you flout 24 days before the day of the election. How do you respond to all that?
I listened to, I watched the INEC chairman yesterday, and I have the uncomfortable feeling that INEC is talking as if it's an NGO, just advocating.
No, but they're not wrong on that.
Yeah, they're not wrong.
The 150 days, there's no punishment.
Yeah, I know that. I'm not saying they are wrong in the law. What has happened is that they found themselves doing advocacy on a matter they ought to be able to act. Right? I'm not blaming them. It could be that the law is wrong, as they have said. But it's not a question of political parties flouting the law. There is only one political party in this country today that is flouting the law. It's the APC. Drive from the Abuja airport to the city center. They are the ones saying Bolaji for 2027. If that's not campaign, then what it is? There is only one party today that has plastered billboards all over the capital city. So INEC knows the offending party. So what they are doing now is putting this issue, if they're not able to do anything about it, they don't have to be started. The people who have the responsibility should take action and know that what is going on at this moment is giving undue advantage to the ruling party. Maybe when you are talking about 40% advantage to the incumbent, maybe that's part of what constitutes the 40%. You know, but what is happening, they know it's not about political parties flouting. is about the ruling party flouting electoral rules by campaigning, by putting up billboards, because I am sure that if it is ADC or PDP or Labour Party that has its billboard all over the country, even within the limitations of the law, something will have happened.
But between you and I, that's what should happen. Because, I mean, how come the people who crafted the law didn't put a penalty if you flout 150 days to the election? It's odd, really.
I mean, maybe some of these things were actually not envisaged, because who will have thought?
Politicians,
Who will have thought that a ruling party will abandon governance 2 years to election and be in full campaign mode? Who will have thought that in a country that people are being slaughtered every day? Who will have thought that that will not be the priority of the ruling party? And what they will be concerned about is 2027 no vacancy. Right? It's ridiculous. But be that as it may, what this conversation is putting in the front burner is that we need to go back and re-examine those laws. We need to go back, and because if you are saying that, because what they are saying is that, oh, it's not the party that put those billboards up. Well, it's not the president or candidate that put those billboards. Fine, no problem. But what we're saying is that if you are the beneficiary, then you should be held liable. The people who are campaigning for you, we don't know them. But if you are the beneficiary, then you should be held liable. You should be, because you take the benefit, you should also take the liability.
All right, thank you so much, spokesman of the African Democratic Congress, Bolaji Abdullahi, for being here to put paid to some of the things that are not right and to discuss. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, that's it for this edition of Arise Primetime. Do join us again tomorrow from me and the entire team here in Abuja. Goodbye, and thank you for watching.